Hi, Tony Mauriello here to talk about cuttings, a vegetative plant propagation technique. There are actually two different propagation techniques. One is sexual, and that is the regeneration of genetic materials to form a uniquely genetic individual through the formation of seed. I call that the science because it's very important that you follow the rules for selecting the seeds, for storing the seeds, and for planting the seeds. Very specific requirements. And the other is asexual propagation. I call that the art because there are many different ways of vegetative propagation. And today we're going to look at cuttings, but that's multiplying plants from vegetative plant parts such as shoots, roots, and leaves. Now, the purpose for vegetative propagation is to reproduce plants with the same characteristics as the parent plant, to maintain a genetic trait, something you cannot guarantee using seeds. For plants that are difficult or impossible to propagate from seed, and to create a large plant more quickly than propagated from seed. It also utilizes a normal plant process called asymmetous roots. These are roots that plants form from any non-root tissue and are produced both during normal development and in response to stress conditions, such as flooding, nutrient deprivation, and wounding. Cuttings can be made from stems, roots, leaves, or a combination of plant parts. They should be taken from healthy plants and placed in a warm, humid environment to hasten root development and prevent them from drying. There are three types, and we'll take a look at each one. There's a stem cutting, there's leaf cuttings, and there are root cuttings. Stem cuttings are probably the one that most people are familiar with because if they see a plant they really like, they snip off the top, put it in water, and look for the roots to develop. And if the roots don't develop, they throw it out. But if the roots develop, then they pot it. So stem cuttings consist of cutting a growing tip of a plant or stem section below the tip. Stem cuttings are removed using a clean, sharp blade. That's very important. Cuttings 4 to 6 inches in length are appropriate for most plants. Leaves are removed from the bottom of the stem and the cuttings are then stuck upright in a medium, for example, soil mixture substrate, just deep enough to hold them upright, usually 1 to 2 inches. Here's a photo of stem cuttings, and you can see they used perlite, which is fine. I've used it. It works well. You just have to keep it very moist. But most of the time, I just use a potting mix. A leaf cutting may be comprised of only the leaf or the leaf and petiole, the leaf stem. You stick the leaf cuttings upright in the propagation medium, making sure that the base end of the cutting is inserted into the propagation medium. New shoots and roots will emerge where the veins were cut. This is excellent for cactus, any kind of succulent. I think it works really well. And here's a photograph showing leaf cuttings. As I mentioned, the petiole part of the leaf is stuck into the soil, and very shortly, you'll have a plant. And root cuttings are typically 2 to 7 inches in length, depending upon the root diameter. Large roots can be cut shorter than small roots and still have an adequate food supply for root and shoot growth. Roots will form at the end that was furthest away from the parent plant. So this end should sit in the bottom of the planting hole. This is very important, or you will not get plants propagating. So you can see in the photos here, someone is holding the root in their hand, maybe about 3-4 inches, and then they place them in the potting medium. Remembering that the end that was furthest away from the parent plant, this end should sit in the bottom of the planting hole. So here's a photo of a grower using cuttings. It looks like mostly stem cuttings, but there may be some root cuttings in there. But this is typical of what you'll see there in a misting house for plant growth, fast plant growth. Now, not all plants are best to grow from cuttings. And there's a nice text called Native Florida Plants, which I would recommend. And in there, it tells you the best way to propagate every particular plant that's in the book. And just about every native plant is in there. Good text to get. Of course, Dave's Garden online is a good source as well. And just to close off here, we'd like to invite you to come out to the Cutting Horse Eco Center at 26268 Cutting Horse Lane in Bonita Springs. It's open Tuesdays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you will find this to be an excellent resource as well, because there are very knowledgeable people there who can help you with your gardens and your yards and what plants to grow. They have a nursery there if you would like to buy some plants as well. So come out and see us at Cutting Horse Eco Center. Thank you for watching.